Hello and welcome back to another Time Walk Tower Defense devlog. My name is Nick, and this week we're going to do something just a little bit different. First, I'm going to show off my progress from the last 3 weeks, but then I'm going to go into something of a day in the life video and show off what I do on a day-to-day basis. So without further ado, let's jump in. It is 8 a.m. and I'm going to start off the day with some coffee and breakfast. Now, I can't forget the most important part of the morning routine. So the first thing I'm going to get to work on this morning is showing off what I've been doing over the last 3 weeks. Now, I've got a lot of little things done and a few really big things, so let me run through the little things real quick. The first thing I did was make the last two enemies, the Deck Swabber and the Hit Squad Behemoth. I also made a separate shield bar to account for the Hit Squad Behemoth's ability. Model pending.
What are those?
They are my Crocs.
The first thing I worked on this week is making the towers rotate in an appropriate direction, whether that be towards the lane or towards the next waypoint. I also went ahead and added some new screenshots to Steam with the new level building. So when you get a chance, go check it out, and if you haven't already, go wishlist it. We really appreciate it, and it really helps us out. Next up was looking into Unity Simulation. Basically, it runs your game on their servers over and over and over, so you can help balance it. It wasn't quite for us because we don't have an AI agent, but it's certainly something we'll use in the future. I built in a rangefinder so that you can tell how far your towers will shoot and how far they'll affect other towers. The towers now shoot their projectiles at the center of the target, not at their feet. Last, and certainly not least, I reworked the UI so the player can always see how many lives they have and how much cash they have. In addition, the level is now started at the press of a button instead of off a timer. In addition to all that, I faced down an insurmountable army of bugs.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight! This is where they die!
So that was all the small stuff I took care of this week. Let's get into the big stuff. The first big task was creating the first official level. This meant learning a new system, ProBuilder, so that I could design the levels how we wanted, that being lowered into the ground a bit. It took some time to learn, but many YouTube videos and failed levels later, I managed to spit out our first level. Then, after a little bit of tweaking, we managed to get a full level working and began play balancing. About a week ago, we sat down and had a meeting where we assigned health, speed, and special ability values to each of the enemies so that we could then create more levels. After playing the first level a few times and tweaking the values of the enemies, we got it pretty well balanced for the fighter to play against. Next up will be to balance all the other characters and use this balancing to create more and more levels. The next big game dev thing I did this week had nothing to do with Time Walk Tower Defense, but was some preliminary study for our next game. I learned how to make a neural net and apply it to a car to teach it to self-drive. Our next big game in the backlog is a collectible card game, and a neural net is almost required to make a halfway decent AI. I needed a few days away from Time Walk Tower Defense, and this was a great way to learn about something new. I'll drop the tutorial I followed in the description if you want to check out the project for yourself. Alright, it is 12:15 and I am headed to the gym. It's easy with a busy schedule to miss out on things like the gym, but I think it's key to keeping yourself sharp. Now I'm about to head over to my flight room to take care of some admin stuff, because yesterday I had my last flight in the T6, did some low level, it was super fun, great way to end out my T6 career. Now I've got a few days off until I start up in the T1. night, got that paperwork knocked out of the way. So one of the hardest things as an indie game developer is time management. And believe me, I get it. Being a student pilot is a busy job. And I've got a piece of advice for everyone that's a little bit contrary to what everyone else is saying.
Well, we're waiting.
So most indie game devs say to never have a 0% day. But I kind of realized that's not always attainable. So I set out to never have a 0% week. When we started up this project, I promised myself and my siblings that I would always put in at least 5 hours a week to the project. Now, normally I put in closer to 15 to 20, but this way I always know that I'm going to get some amount of progress done on the game each week. Alright, it is just after 6. I have showered, I've got some food in me, and I'm ready to jump into coding. The task I'm going to be knocking out is setting up a money system where the player gains money after each wave no matter what. So that way, if the player misses a few enemies going through the lane, they're not just totally hosed for the rest of the game. I'll go ahead and check back in with you guys after I've made some progress. It is now 8:15. I knocked out that money system and it went pretty quick. It wasn't too hard to implement. So I went ahead and made some floating text for the money so that there's a visual cue to the player when they spend or gain money. Tomorrow I'll go ahead and rebalance the level with this new update. But for now, I'm going to take the rest of the night to hang out with my wife and I'll catch up with you guys in the morning. It's Saturday morning, and Elena and I are going to take a little day trip to go check out the Salt Plains in Oklahoma. Should be pretty cool. We'll catch up with you guys in the afternoon. All right. It is about 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. Had some fun this morning, and now I'm going to get back to work. My original plan was to rebalance that first level, but my brother and I texted last night about changing up the scale and speed of the game, so we're going to rebalance it together later this week because it's going to be quite a task. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and make some changes to the structure of that first level to encourage players to learn good tower defense strategies, seeing as it's basically the tutorial level. Next up, I wanted to spice up the level and make it look like something someone would want to play, so I did some research and made some materials to use for the terrain. This level is a time loss based level, so I wanted to go for a lot of purples and grays to give it a bit of a timey-wimey feel.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
As my last task for today, I wanted to go ahead and replace my start and end blocks with actual models. So I went ahead and make a portal where the enemies enter through and a time node that the enemies are trying to get to. They turned out super nice and it was a good way to end out the day. Now finally, let's look at all this stuff I've been working on mashed together.
Oh yeah,
It's all coming together.
Alright, it is 6:45 on Saturday evening, and I'm about wrapped up with all these little touches I'm adding in, and it all looks really nice. I think that's where I'm going to call it tonight for development. Later this evening, I'm going to have a meeting with my family members like we have every week, and then I'm going to play some games with some friends. It's around 8 p.m. tonight. We went ahead and had our weekly meeting. We think it's really important that every week we check in with each other to make sure we're all making good progress, get any help that needs to be done, and get our goals set forth for the next week. It really helps keep us accountable and keep moving forward on these projects. I highly recommend doing something like this if you're working on a project with a team. That way everyone stays connected and up to date. Alright guys, it is now 1:30 in the morning. I had some good times with friends, and now I'm going to get to editing this devlog. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, go hit like, subscribe, comment, turn the bell notifications on. And if you want to hear more about when our game releases, go wishlist it on Steam so you'll be the first to know. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out. And if you like the Day in the Lifestyle video, also drop us a comment so we can make some more of those coming down the pipeline. As always, game on.